Jamaican-American mixed martial artist Aljamain Sterling has recently made an announcement regarding the business side of his career. Turns out the Funk Master no longer requires a manager and wishes to be a free agent onwards. What did Sterling say? We'll be talking about that in this video. To top it off, he brought back a tweet from 2011 hinting at his championship reign. We see it fit to include it in the video too. First up, what did Sterling say? The long-reigning Bantamweight champion announced on his YouTube channel that he is parting ways with his management team. And yes, the MMA fighter runs a successful YouTube channel with around 40,000 subscribers. Do you think he'll be collaborating with any other YouTubers like KSI at some point? Oh man, what if he makes a video with I Show Speed? That'll sure get loud. The fact that he's got a channel up and running and simultaneously makes his way to pay-per-views and other MMA events proves just how big of a name he's made of himself. He's even defended his title twice and expects to be paid the amount he deserves. This is where the trouble comes in, the money. When is it not ever about money? Aljamain has mentioned a couple of times in his previous videos that there's always been some sort of issue when it comes to signing deals and contracts. He considers managers running things to be old school because of their 10% rule and negotiating things on the fighter's behalf. The part-time YouTuber didn't want to get into any problematic details, but added that MMA fighters work extremely hard and fight every day. Sterling also said that he's not telling anyone how to do their jobs and that money needs to be earned. This was the only politically correct way he could describe it. Well, Mr. Bantamweight champion, boy do we have some theories for you. Following up what he meant by his announcement. We weren't given any details because the Funk Master didn't want to stir any drama, but this could only mean that he got into some sort of argument with his managers. According to the Sports Daily, as of 2022, Sterling has a net worth of around $2 million. This is the average amount of a bantamweight fighter, so there shouldn't be any complaining in that department. Pause. Can we talk about the word bantamweight? So it was derived from the bantam chicken, right? But we always end up thinking of bantamweight, and it's starting to get very confusing. Mr. UFC CEO, you did a terrible job. Okay, back to Sterling's managers. Since the paychecks were hinted at throughout the first quarter of his video, we can only assume that Aljo demands a raise. In his defense, and when we say defense, you'd require a lot of skill because dodging those jabs is impossible, being an MMA fighter is not such an easy task. They risk their lives in every fight as soon as they step foot in the octagon and are famous worldwide. How would you feel if you're training so hard and your managers take 10% of your salary just because they made a few phone calls here and there? Well, Sterling isn't the only one who's firing his managers because a lot of other fighters are in the process of doing just the same. Let's talk about other fighters and their problems with management. Joining the Funk Master in his coup against their management teams are Dominic Cruz, Sean O'Malley, and Colby Covington. All of them are in talks to sack their managers for that 10% pay raise. You may be wondering why MMA fighters who are borderline celebrities are in need of a pay raise. Well, to answer your question, have you seen the inflation rate this year? We'd commit felonies for a 1% raise. Back when O'Malley was facing Piotr Jan in late October,
Sugar Sean O'Malley!
he did the negotiating all by himself because he enjoys the liberty with his career ever since he became a free agent. In one of his interviews, he discussed how he enjoys the business side of things and making his own deals with no middleman in between. Sugar Sean has often raised his voice over the unfairness to MMA fighters when it comes to their pay, 10%, 15%.
I did talk about it and bring it up because I wanted the UFC to know I need to renegotiate. That's
right.
Is given to those middlemen for just being the messenger when the main people involved could just do the talking themselves. Coming up, looking at Sterling's management teams. The 33-year-old has been passed around from agency to agency like a rag doll throughout his career. He started off with being represented by Dave Martin and the LLC. He was also a free agent for a short period until he partnered with Vayner Sports Agency, which is a firm led by AJ and Gary Vaynerchuk. Don't know if you've heard of these names before, but they sound exactly like some evil corporation you'd hear on TV. Anyone else getting Waystar Royco vibes? Vayner Sports also acquired O'Malley earlier this year till he decided to disband the partnership. The company is still expanding and partnered with Lloyd Pearson. It's not like this firm is bad at their job or anything because the UFC isn't the only place they run their business. Vayner Sports works with some WWE wrestlers, professional esport players, and a lot of athletes in the NFL. But with two MMA fighters recently terminating their contracts with the company, it might have degraded their reputation a bit. Last but not least, how does riding solo affect a fighter's career? The current pay grade of these fighters is pretty low if you were to compare it with other professional athletes. The average salary of the bantamweight roster is close to $1 million. Sure, that sounds like a lot, but NFL and NBA players are paid significantly more than that. And don't get us started on how much the average footballer earns, because those zeros are too many. Sterling going solo benefits him with the transactional side of things. He'll deal with his own sponsors, matches, appearances, and whatnot. Hopefully the 33-year-old is aware of how busy he's about to get with this decision. Yes, we won't be getting a regular upload schedule on his YouTube channel anymore, huh? As Sugar Sean said, managers and representatives get 10 to 15% for simply conveying a message from one person to another. Meanwhile, the person who appears in the cage works super hard and practically risks his life and doesn't earn what he deserves. Once more MMA fighters realize the unfairness going on in this business, it looks like almost every agency will start losing their assets. Moving on to Sterling's tweet from 2011. First things first, what was the tweet? The Bantamweight champion took a trip down memory lane and shared something he tweeted back in 2011. It was basically a self-motivational tweet where he told his new followers that one of these days he'll be UFC champ of the world. This included a bunch of hashtags that no one uses anymore, but hey, it was 2011. We found trollface funny and considered swag to be cool. And lo and behold, would you look at that, he's currently a long-reigning bantamweight champion. It's kinda sweet how his younger self made a promise to be the greatest ever. Usually our memories from years ago are a bunch of embarrassing pictures with people we regret having in our lives. Why didn't any of us talk about becoming billionaires in the future? The caption to the screenshot claimed that all of this was so crazy since he made his pro debut in April 2011, while the tweet was later in October. Following up with a look at his career, the 33-year-old seemed to be unstoppable in his first 12 fights after his debut. He remained unbeaten until his fourth match against Brian Caraway at UFC Fight Night 88.
For the winner by split decision, Brian Kid Lightning Caraway.
Another defeat followed at UFC Fox 23 from Rafael Asuncao. In a turn of events, Aljo regained his momentum and gathered a record of 10-1 in his upcoming fights. Funkmaster was able to defeat opponents who are considered to be very tough, like Pedro Munhoz and Jimmy Rivera. But the 33-year-old delivered his best performance at UFC 250 against Corey Sandhagen.
He's under! He's under! Joe, it's over. He's going to sleep. He's going to go.
With a high strike rate and a rear naked chokehold at just the first round, Sterling turned a lot of heads back in 2020. All eyes were on the future bantamweight champion, finishing up with the stars plan for the future. Aljo was supposed to be facing Henry Cejudo, who recently came out of retirement, but the champion doesn't plan on appearing in any matches anytime soon. At UFC 280, Funkmaster defended his title against TJ Dillashaw, who dislocated the champ's shoulder. In other words, Sterling literally won with one arm tied behind his back.
Bantamweight champion of the world, Aljamain!
Now the fighter thinks it's time for a break because, like other people in the UFC, he deserves some time off. In one of his interviews, Aljo mentioned that he's fought twice this year and doesn't plan to do any more till mid-2023. Until he steps foot in the octagon again, the young martial artist could be making history with the most UFC bantamweight title defenses. He's currently tied with Dominic Cruz and TJ Dillashaw. Big changes around his management have already been done, so fans can only wonder whether this will affect his momentum when the bell rings or not. And that's all the time we have for this video. What are your thoughts on Sterling becoming a free agent with no representative? Let us know in the comments below. As always, leave a like and hit that subscribe button to see more of our content, and we'll see you in the next one.